about the time we faced doom.
All right. Well, as I remember.
At Avenger headquarters.
Because united, the Avengers are strong.
Welcome to the Marvel Evolution Show with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroud.
Excellent, and we are back, guys, and we're back with a real good focus to talk about this week. She-Hulk. We'll get stuck into that very shortly, but first the obligatory niceness. Alex, how are you?
Good. I'm doing good. I haven't bought any Funkos this week, so that makes me doing, I guess, a little bit better. So, but
excellent. I kind of didn't hear a word of that because my Alexa just decided to just turn itself on, just as I was doing absolutely no reason whatsoever. You know, it just randomly does that, where it just decides it's going to start talking to you. So whatever you said there, awesome. So I didn't not want to listen, Alex. Technical glitches tonight. Jarian, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. We had a good weekend?
Yeah.
Or so far, at least. Excellent. Well, I'll tell you what, my youngest bought the weekend. He bought the first of the larger Funko comic covers, the Moon Knight one. So they're really cool. I didn't realise how cool. I mean, I've seen them, but I didn't realise how cool they were until you sort of get one up close, and you're like, nice. So now we're determined to maybe collect some more of those. But he's just got he's getting his bug now. He sort of said, "Oh, I think I'm going to get another couple of these." But yeah, so he's getting stuck into collecting Funkos now. So
I like those too. The only thing that really bothers me is on the picture in the back, they punch holes in the actual like picture on the back for you to like hang the picture, and I'm like, oh, I wish they wouldn't have punched the holes in it. But
yeah. So I noticed that actually because it comes in a film, doesn't it? The actual box comes in a film, and it looks a bit tatty because if it's got scratched or something, you know, you want to take it out of the film so you can present it properly. So I took the box out of the box, and then I noticed the holes, and I was like, "What are they for?" And it took me a second, and I realised, but obviously just to display it on the wall, but it displays itself quite nicely actually, doesn't it?
mm-hmm.
Hey, are you hearing static from Andy, Alex?
Yeah, I am.
You have a little static when you're talking there, Andy.
Yeah, I'm having some technical issues here, but I'll try and talk a bit less. I don't quite know exactly what's happened tonight. I've got Alexa going on. I've got bad audio. I can barely hear you guys. So yeah, it's just it's one of those days. Anyway, like I said, I'll try and talk a little bit less then. Anybody that's listening, you know, you can do the talking and make me shut up. Hi Rob, he's there. Couple of other people there. Remember, guys, because now we're streaming to multiple pages, multiple groups, multiple different places, and quite often in our chat stream, it comes up with a message, but it doesn't come up with your name. So just put a little message, just a little name at the end of it, just say, you know, this is my comment, and then put your name down, and then we know who's talking to you. Yeah, that would be really cool, really useful. But we'll start off by going through some news. Jarian, what we got?
Yeah. So we have a comment about your audio. Sounds like Andy out here sound like Zola. Are you over there developing an algorithm while you're talking?
I might try something in a minute. I'll try something in a minute and see what happens.
All right. So let's get right into the news. Ewan McGregor isn't really interested in joining the MCU. He went on to say, I don't know that I want to do that, because I love doing all the different things or different kinds of work. It's true. I love to direct. I like to be in a theater again. I definitely want to do this again. You know, I'm in the Star Wars world. I feel like I don't need another. I'm not looking for that anyway. I feel like I shouldn't say I wouldn't do it, because in 2 years' time, you'll be like, you said you're never going to do this, but I'm not looking for it particularly. So it looks like, you know, maybe if, you know, the right things align, you know, for him, he might be open to it, but he's not actively looking for anything in the MCU today.
Firstly, is this audio better?
Yes. Zola's gone.
Look at that. Amazing. And it's weird, isn't it? Like, I've done nothing different at all. And all of a sudden there's a setting on the computer that just decided to change. Like, why is that? So I was listening though, Ewan McGregor. I like Ewan McGregor, but you know, at the moment he's Obi-Wan, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's almost like if like it's hard to see. Robert Downey Jr. when he done Doolittle, didn't he? A couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and it's like all you're doing is you're watching Tony Stark in Doolittle. You're like, I can't get over this just yet. So for me, actually, I'm quite glad that Ewan McGregor's not coming into the MCU at the moment, because I'd just be like, why is Obi-Wan in the in Marvel universe?
Well, he's been in the DCU. He was in the Harley Quinn movie, wasn't he?
Was he?
Or no, Birds of Prey. I'm sorry, he was in Birds of Prey. He wasn't he the villain in Birds of Prey? So he's been in the DCEU. And then a comment from the chat here. Big actors like Ewan usually don't do one-off villains. So he did the one in Birds of Prey. He could do possibly one in the MCU if he wanted to, or or not.
Black Mask.
I thought it wasn't. I thought he was in Birds of Prey.
I mean, I could be wrong, but like, wow, like,
Yep, Black Mask. Yep.
yeah.
Alex has said this before, actually.
I didn't even realize that.
You said this before. I'm sure it's you that said this before, Alex, about giving lesser roles to someone with star power.
Mm-hmm.
To help that role sort of, have some gravitas. So as we've seen in Eternals, some big actresses in Eternals with in roles that you kind of, the general viewer might not know very well. So Angelina Jolie, Hayek, some big actors and actresses playing those smaller roles, or not necessarily smaller roles, but lesser known roles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but like I said, I'm glad we're not getting Obi-Wan. Otherwise, I'd just be confused.
Moving on, Multiverse of Madness news. Doctor Strange early concept art reveals Nightmare was the villain under Scott Derrickson's script, and then was removed when Michael Waldron took over.
Do you know what? I totally forgot that Derrickson was supposed to be right in that movie. Actually, yeah, great. I mean, will we get Nightmare later on in the series, in the Doctor Strange series of movies? I don't know. Do we need him?
I don't really think we probably need him, but I mean, I've always liked Nightmare, so it'd be a cool character to see explored. And I don't know, like after Multiverse of Madness, with the whole thing with dreams and everything, being like looking at other versions of yourself, I feel like that kind of might narrow his character down a little bit in the MCU. But
yeah, limits him a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Armor Wars news. Marvel via Twitter was asked any updates. So someone tweeted at Marvel and basically said any updates on Armor Wars. And then Don Cheadle was also tagged in that tweet. Don Cheadle tweeted in response, "Funny you should ask." So I don't know if we'll find out at D23. There is a bunch of spots open in that Phase 6 where we haven't seen anything, and they're probably all shows. I doubt they're gonna do any more movies for Phase 6. I think it's all gonna be Disney Plus content. So interesting to see if we have that during that D23.
Somebody said the other day on the group about tying Armor Wars into the Thunderbolts to New World Order, Captain America New World Order, and in and around that time. Kind of makes sense to me when you look at the type of character, government sort of type character, that sort of spy thriller, espionage type world, which is, I really like that. I think I've said that many times before. So I was quite disappointed. Well, not quite disappointed, but just I was like, oh, where's Armor Wars? Where's more about that? Because as much as I love Rhodey, I'm not necessarily a massive fan of War Machine, but I like that area.
We could also see Captain America 4 as well. So some tie-ins there, especially with the Power Broker, and we saw Don Cheadle, War Machine, Rhodey in the beginning of that series as well.
We also saw the Iron Patriot armor in Iron Man 3, and I don't think we'll ever see probably Norman Osborn in that, but I think it would be cool if we see somebody else maybe don the Iron Patriot armor, and that could also maybe be something that's brought up maybe in Armor Wars. Like,
do we know? Was that just Rhodey's suit resprayed?
It was an AIM rebrand.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he got to upgrade though once we got past Iron Man 3 and he got into other things, if he got an upgraded suit. So that suit could still be out there somewhere. You know, like mark whatever of the Iron Page or War Machine suit.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with it. Is it another suit or is it the same one?
Well, if you take Rhodey's suit from Iron Man 2 and you take like the suit from Civil War and you put them side by side, they look like almost completely different. Like there's different sections of the suit. Like, you know, they're a little bit different. Like I think the gun on the back is completely different. Like it's more of like a chain gun on like Iron Man 2, and it's like a little bit more advanced in Civil War. But like, yeah, like they never really explained if Rhodey's just been using the same suit the whole time and it's been just getting add-ons and things switched out. But like Tony's got like, you know, so many suits before he went to the actual like nanotech. So
I mean, I'd say that the suit that Rhodey had in Endgame was fairly advanced compared to those other ones. He does the canopy where it opens up and you know, it looks a lot more nanotech-esque. I don't think it is nanotech, but it looks more along those lines than his previous suit. His previous suit was that very much like mechanical, you know, get inside it, keep getting dressed, you know, in the gantry sort of thing. Where this other suit looks more organic. So,
but if you also look from that canopy scene where he's down in the water with Rocket and Scott saves them, from when he emerges from that with Giant Man and with Rocket, from that canopy when they first did the snap and they were all in that room, to when he emerged on the battlefield for that final battle, those suits are different suits if you look at it, because that final battle suit, he looks jacked in that suit.
Yeah, I was going to say that actually just a second ago. I'm glad you brought it up, because I was going to say you can see the evolution of the Iron Man suit. Because talking about side by sides, Alex, if you look at Iron Man 2 and the scene at the end in the park where they're standing side by side, that first time where you see the proper War Machine armor and the proper Iron Man armor standing side by side, they're the same size, aren't they, roughly? And you can see the evolution of Iron Man suit. It's got slimmer, more agile, and it's almost the same shape as him now, isn't it? And the War Machine suit's just got bigger, and it looks huge, and he's a giant, like Joan was saying. So yeah, there's that nice sort of contrast between the two suits. They started out as the same suit. One's got bigger and one's got smaller.
And then you also look too that once he had that injury in Civil War, what's been done to the suit to assist him as well, because he has that belt on, and I believe he had that belt on in Wakanda when they showed up. So you got to wonder too what the suit does to help him with that injury he suffered in that Civil War battle.
Yeah, because he can't walk at all, can he?
Not without that assistive devices that he has.
Yeah.
So,
I'm hoping that we do get that War Machine. You know, I mean, Fred's thrown a couple of agree or disagrees out there, and we had the discussion I think last week about the Valkyrie show. Like, you know, would you want a Valkyrie show? And I think like that's a perfect example. I'd love to see more of Rhodey. Do you know what I mean? And a show. I think he kind of deserves a show, doesn't he? That's what I kind of think. That's what I mean.
And his show, like he should start with like kind of like a monologue and be like talk about how Stark started on this journey of trying to like rid the world of weapons, but now that Stark's not here, somebody has to like step into that position. And Rhodey should be kind of like that person that kind of like helps pick up Stark's journey where it left off. I don't know.
Yeah.
So the question here from the chat: what do you guys think about we're going to see the Punisher in Armor Wars? And I think that could be a good way to bring him in the fold, whether it's Punisher or whether it's Armor Wars, whether it's the new Daredevil series. At some point, they're going to have to reintroduce Frank Castle. And by all the rumors, it does sound like it's going to be John Bernthal returning in that role. So yeah, whether it's Armor Wars or Daredevil series, or maybe even Daredevil says of the Defenders, you know, it's an 18 episode season. They can reset that up in the MCU. So all kinds of options to bring in the Punisher.
What if Frank steals a like an Iron Man suit or a War Machine armor or something?
Iron Patriot armor, you know?
Yeah, Iron Patriot. Yeah, that would be crazy. And they make like Frank kind of like the villain, and then make Rhodey kind of like turn him back to like the good side in the end or something.
Do you know what? That's kind of what I want to see. Whether he takes a suit to do that, I don't know. But that's what I want to see. I want to see, you know, Rhodey and Frank going at it, and you know, Frank just trying his hardest to take down Rhodey in the War Machine suit and like just getting beaten basically. But you know, Rhodey kind of going to that. Come on, you know, you're a good guy as such. You just need to act like a good guy.
And here's a comment from the chat. As long as Justin Hammer is in it, and I was just thinking
Yeah.
Justin Hammer could be the surrogate for Osborn
Mhm.
in the MCU. He's already established. We know he's in prison right now. He was in the prison with Trevor, the fake Mandarin, and we saw that in the shorts. He could be the surrogate for Osborn in the MCU. He could be the one that steps in after Secret Invasion, be like, hey, there's all that history they built up with him, just kind of throw him away.
Yeah.
So he's got adaptoids in as well. So we could see him in the Iron Patriot armor.
And he's and Sam Rockwell's great. So the more we can see of him, I'll be pleased about that.
Moving on. Oh, one more comment here. Then he's gonna be defeated if he stole the armor, I think, and that's talking about Frank Castle, I believe.
Yeah,
Mhm.
gonna be undefeated, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a great I'm on a Marvel cosplay group. Not that I do Marvel cosplay.
You can tell us it's okay. It's a safe space.
Okay.
To be honest.
I want to. I do want to. But no, I want it. And there's a guy that does that's got a War Machine Punisher suit. It looks awesome. It looks amazing. And I'm like, yeah, I want that suit. But yeah, that'd be quite cool. He could spray it up, couldn't he? Almost like could look a little bit like Crossbones, almost.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cross between sort of Crossbones in Civil War and War Machine and Punisher, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool cosplayers out there. So even when they had the local con here, I was showing the pics to my son. He's like, "We got to go to that." I'm like, we can go next year.
Yeah. No, there's some awesome stuff now, and
Yeah.
with 3D printing and things, there's some great things coming out of that world, and the lengths that people go to actually replicate some of these outfits is incredible. Really is.
Next bit of topic of news here. Allison Brie wants to play an MCU villain. She has said nothing specifically that I have set my sights on. No, and I think that would be a mistake because clearly you can't really dictate. Marvel's going to do their thing as they should. I think there's a fantasy deep in my mind that one day I would get to play a Marvel villain, but I don't know which one that would be. People, fans, send me ideas so I can start the campaign. Now, she also was fan casted a lot as Jennifer Walters as She-Hulk. So with the passing of William Hurt and not knowing how they're going to do Red Hulk and Thunderbolts, she possibly could be the MCU's Betty Ross and be Red She-Hulk. It's not necessarily a villain, but I think with her acting chops and her what she's done, I think she could be an MCU Betty Ross and play that Red She-Hulk role.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with the actress, if I'm honest.
So she was like in Glow on Netflix. So the Glamorous Ladies of Wrestling, I think it was called. It stands for. She was in Glow. She's been like in Community, another one she's been a long time with. She's been in numerous movies. She has pretty good persona on screen. So she could be that. She could be Lady Deadpool.
Yeah.
As an option as well. Yeah, Gwenpool is also. They do all kinds of things, especially her and Ryan Reynolds going back and forth on screen. I think would be something to really see.
Okay, cool. Going back to the Betty Ross thing, is she old enough to be that sort of a love interest for Bruce?
She could be. Are they going to reckon that as well in the MCU, or just kind of, because they're kind of mostly throwing away Incredible Hulk in the MCU, right? Except for some of the characters, right? We still haven't seen Samuel Stearns the leader. The only role the one has been over that is Hulk himself, and mostly Peter's teacher. We've seen in the Spider-Man movies, and then Abomination. So there's not really in General Ross. So not really much has come over from that. So they could kind of throw that away and do something a little bit different there if they went that route.
Yeah. Okay.
What Brian Andrews on What If Season 2 being a little bit weirder. Obviously more unique stories that slowly get a little bit wilder. Not weirder, wilder. They get a little bit wilder. The first season, Kevin wanted to keep it a little bit closer to the vest, have a little thing that was different, and that little thing made these things different. But they still tied very much to either a moment in the movies or a particular film itself. Now there's more films and things to pull from, so we don't have to have just a tiny moment. We can expand out and things can get a little bit wackier. We take it up a notch in season 2, and then in the season 3, we just get you go even wackier. In season 2, we have different characters that we haven't really got a chance to play with before, and we'll see how they integrate with some of the favorites that come back. There's lots of really cool stuff, and I can't wait people to see it. And there's been like rumors that they're pulling from Phase 4 heavily in the next season of What If. You know, Shang-Chi, some of the Black Widow stuff like Red Guardian and Yelena. So it sounds like they're going to use a lot of those new characters that got introduced in Phase 4.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the What If series season 1, so I'm looking forward to season 2. And I think we've said it before on this show, haven't we? About it's a ground for just throwing everything out there and seeing what sticks.
Yep.
You know, there's almost no risk. I mean, there is risk, of course. There's always risk, but do you know what I mean? It's like, let's just do whatever we want and see what happens. And if something good comes of it that we can then take back into the live action stuff, then great. If not, hopefully we can still make a really great animated series and people are going to love that for what it is. And that's pretty much exactly what happened in the first season, isn't it?
Yep.
I was also so surprised that they made it sort of like an anthology series and made all those episodes and then brought them all into the fold in like the final, what was it, a 2-part finale with Ultron, you know? So like,
Do you think they'll do that again?
I don't think that I mean, I really hope that that's not going to be like a thing. Like if they end up doing like 8 seasons of What If, every season ends where like, you know, it's got like a 2-part series that connects all the episodes. I just feel like, you know, like we'll be like, okay, season 3, like here it comes again.
We know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So like, I hope that they kind of keep things different. But I mean, like we did see like the thing with Stark where Stark goes to Sakaar. They didn't do that in season 1. So I'm assuming that's going to be in season 2.
Yep.
So like, you know, like, so they can kind of mix things up and kind of just, you know, do whatever.
They could have it so that it almost, you know, maybe there's this, you know, episode 1 is on its own standalone. Then episode 2 and 3 could kind of be connected, and then sort of episode 4 is not connected, and then episode 5 and 6 and 7 might be, and then episode 8 and 9 are 2 separate things altogether again. You know, they don't have to stick. And I think they kind of said something similar to that about post-credit scenes a little while ago, didn't they? They said they didn't want to make them predictable. And I guess that's what you're saying there, Alex, isn't it? It's like, we don't want this to become predictable. If they're going to do 7 or 8 seasons of it, you don't want to kind of be waiting for those last 2 or 3 episodes to package everything together. So, you know, we're not saying don't package things together. It's just don't follow the same formula all the time. Otherwise, we're just going to get bored with it.
Yeah, I don't want the watcher assembling the Guardians of the Multiverse at the end of every season. Yeah, just to fight some threat, like, you know. So
yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I was just said I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say from the chat here, Doctor Strange, Zombies, and T'Challa episodes are my favorites. And then another one from the chat says, just give me more Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright, awesome.
Yeah, we're all on that. We're all on that one, aren't we?
He's fantastic in Westworld too. Love it.
I just hope we see a live action version of the Watcher.
Yeah,
with Jeffrey Wright. So
yeah, and we've kind of been teased with that, haven't we? In Love and Thunder.
Yep, the statues. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And obviously we've been teased with that in Guardians 2?
Yeah, they had Watchers. It was like one of the Stan Lee cameos. They had like 3 of them, I think, with Stan Lee in space.
Yeah.
Madam Web News, set photos show off a classic looking Daily Bugle. You know, and from everything that's been reported so far, this looks like this takes place pre Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. So I wonder if we're also going to see a young J. Jonah Jameson in this movie as well. Especially with all the stuff they're doing, and you know, maybe this is, you know, like I said, pre-date to Tobey Maguire being Spider-Man, but I'm still trying to think they're going to throw us a curveball, and the pregnant baby Parker is going to be Tom Holland and not Tobey Maguire. I think they're going to throw a curveball here, but watch it be Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Yeah.
It'll be a Spider-Man. We know that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, we've said it. I'll watch it, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see with Sony.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a rumor, and this rumor came out later this week. Kevin Feige is playing the next Marvel Studios saga, and it'll be focused on the Mutants, which has been rumored for a long time, especially with the whole Fox thing that's been out there. The saga will include multiple movies and series focused on mutants. So, and that's Phase 7. Unless they do something in Phase 6, depending on what the whole Fox rumors about the contracts and actors. So wait and see what D23 holds for that one.
I mean, that kind of makes sense, though, doesn't it? We've said that before in regards to what's going on now, what we can see is going to happen, the rumors around the contracts and things like that, and the fact that X-Men needs more than just a movie or two, and then they're here. It kind of needs a whole phase. Maybe not a whole phase of all X-Men, but yeah, like you said, a few movies, a couple of shows, dropping them into other shows and other movies. It kind of does need a phase like dedicated to.
Yeah.
And I keep saying it's Saga X.
Yep, they need to build up for it because we've had 6 phases of Avengers basically.
Yeah,
so they're gonna have to come hot and heavy with mutants for at least Phase 7 probably, or at least for a big chunk of it.
I think it would also be interesting with that new animated X-Men show like season that they're doing too, if they bring that show in, use that as kind of like the interim of like introducing mutants that eventually come in the MCU that are like maybe a little bit less known.
Yeah, mutants that are less known, or just like Jubilee, or
yeah, like flushing out characters that haven't really been like seen on screen that much.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay.
So, question here from the chat: do you guys think we'll ever see Jared Leto's Morbius on screen again, or are they going to scratch that whole thing? Which I don't know about that one. It depends on what Sony's trying to connect in their universe. It would be good to see Morbius come over to the MCU because that's another Midnight Suns team they could have. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess it hinges on a lot of contracts, doesn't it, on what's going on legally.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, the guy's not a bad actor, is he? And as you've said, Jaren, the character fits in with a few bits and pieces that are going on at the moment. So why not? As long as he's given the right content to deliver, he should be able to do a good job. So, but again,
I'm not a big fan of his, to be honest. I don't really think that movie though is really like his fault, and
no, that's
happened with that character. And I also kind of feel that way too with his Joker, because I don't really like him as Joker either. I don't really think he plays the Joker right either, but I don't really think that's either his fault, because they cut a lot of that stuff out. So I feel like, I don't know.
So now, and again, you'd have to excuse my ignorance here, Alex, and I'm not a DC man, and I know you are. So was his iteration of the Joker an iteration that we've seen before in comics or in any sort of material?
I think it was like a little bit of like a spin on a different Joker. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole thing with like Joker being like a criminal, like being like kind of like a gangster, but like the whole like covered in tattoos and
that's
like,
what I mean.
Like Joker. The thing about Joker is like Joker's like done everything. There's even like something in DC Comics where like there's like Joker dragons now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just like they're not even Joker, but they're dragons that look like Joker. Like it's weird. But but like my whole point in saying all this is like that one was just really weird. Like him with like the tattoo gun, like tattooing himself, and like the whole torturing thing. Yeah, but like that was just a weird Joker to me. It just didn't really click at all.
I enjoyed the stuffed animal costumes they had, though. His henchmen.
So, I mean, apart from the obvious that, the green hair, the makeup, the fact that he was called Joker, if he wasn't called the Joker and you didn't know anything about the Joker, would you have? I mean, I guess it's hard to detach yourself from that and then looking at it as a performance.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the performance was bad, or did you just not like it because that wasn't the Joker? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't the Joker that I thought I was gonna get. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Like I love Harley in those movies. Like
Yes.
Harley's like great. And they kind of like did a little bit of a different spin on Harley there too. Because like the original version of Harley actually came out when I was a kid watching Batman the Animated Series, and it came out like on that show. And they even kind of like pay homage to that, where they have like one scene of her and Joker like dancing, and she's wearing the red and black costume. But that was like more of her original costume. And I'm not sure which came first, the movies or the comics changed it, but she got like kind of like an upgraded comic change, and now her costume's different. And even now in the comics, she's kind of more of a hero almost, kind
Right.
of. So like, like it's just kind of like an evolution, but I just wasn't a fan of that Joker.
Okay.
That
Fair
way.
enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
So a couple of chats from the comments from the chat. I hope not. One person says, another says he can only play the hand he's dealt, which is
Mhm.
true. It's from the role. Here's an interesting one. Maybe we're going to see Morbius in some future movie. I saw Morbius, but for me, it was not bad, but not any good. Which that's a fair assessment. I still haven't seen it. Someone said he's a weird actor. And then here's one. The best Joker was in The Dark Knight. Now, I think Heath Ledger did play the best darker-ish Joker. But I still like Jack Nichols's take on Joker as well.
One of the funniest scenes ever is when he pulls that gun out of his pants that's like 30 feet long
Yeah.
and shoots the bat wing or whatever, because it's just like typical random Joker. It makes no sense whatsoever, but it just happens, and you just like, okay, great. Like,
It's like a scene out of Roger Rabbit or something, he's pulled out mallet.
yeah.
No, I mean, I guess this is the same with everything, isn't it? It's like asking what your favorite color is.
Mhm.
What's your favorite color? You're going to say red, you're going to say green, I'm going to say blue, and none of us are wrong. It's just, well, which one do you like the most? I mean, for me, I guess I don't, because again, going back on what I was saying about Jared Leto's Joker, like, not overly familiar with the Joker. Obviously, I know who he is, and kind of get it. But I also would watch Heath Ledger over and over again. But having said that, Joaquin Phoenix done a great job, but that was a different movie again, wasn't it?
Different style.
Yeah, that's it. But this is the point, isn't it?
Yep.
If you're a sports fan out there, my game's football or soccer, so you're going to say, well, who's the better player, this defender or this striker? It's like, well, it's hard to compare. That one does a different job to the other one, so they're both good in their own right, and that's the same thing, sort of saying here.
DC came out with a comic series recently called The Three Jokers, and it's really cool because you kind of find out that Batman's been fighting three different people over this time, and they're all the same person, but one's like the clown, one's the comedian, and one's the criminal. And they all kind of are like the same person, but the Joker's more of like an ideology and a sickness, really, than like one person. So like you have the storyline, and basically Batman's sitting in this chair that's like all knowing, and he's like, who's the real identity of the Joker? And it's like, which one? And he's like, whoa, what do you mean? And then it leads into the Three Jokers.
So there are actually three different humans that are the Joker.
Yeah, and I think in that story they're kind of like setting it up. I'm sure like a lot of people might know who Jason Todd is. Like I feel like Jason Todd was like intended to kind of be like another like tortured, like turned into a Joker at some point by the Joker. But you have like one of the Jokers just literally like shoots one of the other Jokers in that, and it's just like, all right, it's just like me now. Like so like it's kind of like they've all been existing, but Batman, I guess, never really realized that he was fighting three different people.
That's
at this
interesting.
time. Yeah, it's really weird. But
So, what do you guys think about Pattinson's Batman? I know it's not MCU, but so
Okay.
just to throw it out there, I know it's called Marvel Evolution, but we do cover DC. We do talk boys, we do talk Star Wars, so it's more than just the MCU stuff. So feel free to ask that, and we're actually diverging into a DCU conversation now. And with that being said, I thought Pattinson played a very well-rounded Batman. That was a very good take on a pure detective version of Batman. I actually enjoyed it. I didn't think I would, but I actually enjoyed Pattinson's Batman.
I think that was one of the best Batman movies I've ever seen. I loved like how it was kind of fast paced at times, and then it would slow back down, and then it would pick back up. Like the beginning where it starts off, he's on the subway, and then he looks up in the sky and he sees the bat signal, and then he's just on to the next thing. and he's talking. This is a young Batman. He's going through the teething issues. Like he uses that wingsuit and gets ragdolled across the street. Like so he's going through all these typical problems. But I love the message of the movie about like how it starts out with him hiding in the shadows, and then in the end of the movie being like a symbol of hope and being like seen being out of the darkness and in the light kind of type of thing. So great, fantastic movie in my eyes.
Nice. I haven't seen
Maybe,
it.
I'm gonna say, he's like, I didn't think anybody's seen it yet, but
I
yeah,
haven't seen it yet. No, I will watch it, but I haven't seen it yet, so
I won't say anymore.
I won't. No, so I won't comment.
All right, moving on. So I mentioned D23, and there's a rumor floating around this week also that Marvel Studios will announce 5 new TV series at D23, which I believe would fill out the gaps in Phase 6. So interesting to watch. Another comment just came in, says, I agree, it was really one of the best Batman movie and realistic. Even his Batmobile, like he has made in his basement, which I love the Batmobile take too as well.
Yeah, and I actually wasn't a fan of the Batmobile until like in the posters and stuff. Like I thought it was cool, but I was like, I'm not a big fan of this one. And then I went and watched it in the movie. I was like, man, I love this thing. Like the way it sounds, the way it's going down the road. Like they have a scene where it gets drifted around cars and it's like an inch within hitting somebody. Is just awesome, man.
That scene with the penguin.
Yeah, chasing the penguin. Yeah,
yeah.
Just going back on that one, Joran, there's 8 gaps that they've announced.
8.
There's 8 gaps that they announced at SDCC.
So 5 shows, Deadpool, Blade. No, Blade's already been announced. So
Blade.
5 shows, Deadpool. What else? That's 6. Is it going to be a Shang-Chi 2?
I'll come on to what I've been
Probably.
in a minute, or one of them might be.
Shang-Chi 2 possibly. Eternals follow-up. Another.
like an Eternals 2.
Yeah, Eternals 2 or some kind of crossover with, Go ahead, Andy. You got to say something. Say it.
Joan was like, Eternals follow up? All right, Alex was like,
Well,
Eternals 2.
no, I'm just saying, like, because you can have the Eternals pop up somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, and we're kind of like split now on the Eternals. Like, some Eternals are gone and some are somewhere else.
No, I get you, but it was just funny. I was like, hire that man.
Because you could even have a whole, because they talk Excalibur when they're on their ship towards the end. So you could have a whole thing around Excalibur and Merlin and all that kind of stuff. They could dive into a Black Knight movie and like a prequel. There's all kinds of ways that they could pull from things mentioned in Eternals and bring them in the fold for some kind of new project.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep. I'd really, going back to the Black Knight thing, I mean, obviously, being from this side of the pond, I'd really like to see like a Captain Britain movie or an MI13 movie or some sort of movie set over here in the UK with British heroes, British characters that could feed into the sort of MCU that's happening in the rest of the world.
yeah,
Blade could
that'd be a good one.
part of that.
Yep.
Blade could be a part of that.
Black Knight.
Black Knight, Spitfire. We know that we've got well, there's the rumours, isn't there, that what's her face? What's the actress in Secret Invasion? She's playing a Fallsworth. She could be playing
Olivia Colman.
Olivia Colman.
Yeah, Union Jack ties. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. There's Union Jack ties there. We've obviously had the mention of Braddock in Endgame. Peggy spoke about a Braddock. So, there's lots of little bits and pieces there that could form
Pete Wisdom.
Yeah, Pete Wisdom, yeah. And lots of little bits and pieces. And that kind of goes back to our AUA. Yeah, AUA. Ask Us Anything the other week when we said about who do we wanted to direct a movie, and somebody said Guy Ritchie, and I thought, yeah, Guy Ritchie sort of Snatch / Lock, Stock / The Gentleman MI13 movie. Brilliant. I'd love that. Anyway, carry on.
So Idris Elba is in the news for his new movie Beast, and there was some Heimdall conversation during his interview. So could he be returning? He teased it in an interview. He said Heimdall is a beloved character. I love playing him. There may be something cooking. Then he says, I don't know. I would tell you if I did. Well, probably not. Which goes to take that we saw. Well, hold on. If you haven't seen Love and Thunder, earmuffs. Okay. We saw Heimdall in the post-credit scene when Jane arrived in Valhalla. So we could have a Valhalla type series as well. Or maybe there's some way for him to talk to his son, you know, that we got also got introduced in Love and Thunder as well. So a couple ways they could do that.
Yeah, somebody popped on a group the other day just about Valkyrie and about Jane becoming the new Valkyrie and resurrected as the new Valkyrie. And I was like, I didn't even think about that, but that's not a bad idea, actually. Not that I'm particularly bothered about seeing more Natalie Portman. Not that I don't want to see her either. I'm just saying that kind of makes sense.
Yeah and no. If they're going to do anything, Valkyrie, stick with Tessa Thompson, because I feel like with Love and Thunder, they've kind of closed that whole loop with Jane and Thor. And I wonder if that would just prolong that more if they brought her back.
Yeah, it's almost like that's done now. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're gonna resurrect someone, resurrect Heimdall.
Yeah.
So D23 will also have honors. So Chadwick Boseman will be honored there as a Disney Legends honoree, amongst others. So,
cool.
Yeah, interesting how they do that.
Oh, that'd be cool. Like, you know, they could have a Marvel Cinematic Universe Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And they could sort of induct people into a Hall of Fame as they go through, you know, their Marvel career, or Marvel Cinematic Universe career, should we say.
And Stan Lee and Chadwick Boseman could be the inaugural too of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Brilliant.
Going back to the Valkyrie comments, someone agrees if they do it at all, just stick with Valkyrie we already have.
Yeah.
So, or resurrect her team, some of her team members.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's all the general news is done now. So let's start going into She-Hulk. So I'm on to She-Hulk news now. Mark Ruffalo did talk about Secret Wars during some interviews with Entertainment Tonight. He went on to say, Kevin has obviously revealed that all this is going to end in Avengers Secret Wars. How do you think this will compare to Endgame? What do you think? What can you tell us? What can you tease us? This is what ET asked Mark Ruffalo. Ruffalo responded saying, well, it's going to be hard to top Endgame, but I know Kevin, and if I know Marvel, it's going to be pretty amazing. It'll be a big bang. We will go out with a big bang. Ruffalo was also asked about World War Hulk. Entertainment Tonight asked him, there's a few Easter eggs in this kind of let us down the World War Hulk storyline. Are you up for a solo Hulk movie? Ruffalo said, anytime they want to do it, I'm here. So that's interesting.
Yeah. That was one of the spaces that we was talking about earlier in that phase 6. I'd quite like to see a Planet Hulk series and then a World War Hulk movie.
And that could be one of the series they announced with Planet Hulk.
And I really like the idea. I think it might have even been you, Jara, and it was somebody that said that it could have been Kang that causes the problem that turns Hulk, you know, crazy and makes him lose it, because obviously he wants him out of the way. So he tries to manipulate a situation where he gets the Hulk out of the way. But that it doesn't really get rid of him. It just causes him to be even more angry and come back to Earth and cause the World War Hulk.
Yeah, that was somebody else that was not me.
That was okay. Yeah. I like that.
I mean,
giving credit.
I mean, they could always just do kind of what Scarlet Witch did to him in Age of Ultron, which is just, you know, like Kang could just do something like that to him, and then Hulk just goes on a rampage.
Yeah, he could do. But is that sort of too simple? Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's obvious he could do it, but
I mean that wouldn't be Kang's only play, though. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be probably like multiple cogs in the machine moving at one time. True. You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, he does do that a lot, doesn't he? He does do that a lot. You know, I've read a little bit about him, and you know, he does play lots of different little angles. He plants little seeds all over the place to try and help him, you know, win his war with his, with the whole, and he looks at everything as a grand scheme, doesn't he? Rather than just sort of one thing that's happening at any one point. It's like actually everything's happening all at once.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of World Hulk, and we know that Sakaar is going to be involved, and Scar, and She-Hulk, and probably Abomination, and hopefully other Hulk characters. But if we do go back to Sakaar, this is an interesting question about what do you guys think we were going to see Beta Ray Bill in the movie? And if we go back to do any kind of history in Sakaar, we saw his statue on the Champions thing of Beta Ray Bill. And if we go back to World Hulk and we go back to Sakaar, we could possibly see Beta Ray Bill in there. Maybe Hulk defeated him to become the new champion. And also we can find out, how Scar was brought into the picture, some more backstory on Sakaar with Hulk, more than what we saw in Ragnarok to kind of tie that thread. So I think if we're going to see Beta Ray Bill anytime soon, I think a World War Hulk and returning to Sakaar is probably going to be the easiest way to do it now, opposed to how they could bring him in later on, through Thor movie.
And didn't we see Corbinites like in the background in one movie?
Guardians, I think. Guardians, the first Guardians, I believe.
Was it, or was it because Corbinite was supposed to be where Gamora and were fighting in Endgame?
Yes, it was Endgame. Sorry,
supposed to. I mean, if nobody said that, you would never know. But that's apparently where they were supposed to be. But they weren't obvious. But then again, they didn't look like Bill, did they? I think I'm right in thinking he was sort of genetically enhanced, so he didn't particularly look like the other Corbinites, did he?
Yeah, he's kind of like a engineered super soldier version of their race, kind of,
So you wouldn't see his race and go, oh, that's the same. Yeah. So
it's kind of like their protector, kind of, I guess, kind of in a way, which I don't know if people have seen the animated Planet Hulk movie. That's a fantastic movie with Beta Ray Bill and Hulk fighting. And I love that scene where Beta Ray Bill and Hulk are fighting, and Beta Ray Bill says something like, Hulk, the tales of Asgard, tell all about you, and all of your conquests. But unfortunately, someone has to die here today, and it won't be me. And Hulk just looks at him and is like, buddy, they ain't seen nothing yet. And then Hulk just beats him to a bloody pulp. But it's a great movie.
Is that one on Disney Plus as well, Alex?
I believe it is. I think it is.
Yeah.
I might even watch that before I go to bed.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Speaking of more, go ahead.
No, go on.
Oh, speaking of more Thor stuff, we probably just get a Thor Corp series or in Secret Wars, so we could see as part of that too as well. Another possibility. So good shout out there from the group chat. More Ruffalo conversation. He talked about She-Hulk in upcoming projects. So he teased that Tatiana Maslany's return in the next Avengers film. He didn't really give away which one it'll be, but he goes on to highlight that there's not going to be another Avengers without her, which would hint at potential return to a role in Avengers, the Kang Dynasty. That's going to be in 2025, which is today. But that means she could also be in Secret Wars as well if that schedule still keeps.
Yeah, makes sense, don't it? She's a big player in the Avengers at different points. So yeah, brilliant.
More chat here about the Beta Ray Bill stuff. Lots of story to tell in the past in Sakaar. I'm for any and all of it. I'm excited we're going to get the Hulk movie, more She-Hulk, more Hulk family, which I agree. And then someone asked, what's the name of that show? It's the Planet Hulk movie. They're talking about the one that Alan's talking about with Beta Ray Bill and Hulk fighting.
But they start that movie off, I think they launch Hulk into space, don't they? And that's how
it's
the car. Yeah,
it's been a while since I've seen it, but I think you're right.
It's been a while I've seen it as well, but it must be close to probably when it first came out, actually.
It's been out for a while.
I was going to say it must be at least 10 years. It's 15 years old, if not older than that.
And I also believe too, it's either Earth's Mightiest Heroes or Avengers Assemble. There is a Hulk show as well where there is Beta Ray Bill, and he does fight. It has to do with Enchantress and all this kind of stuff. So he's in that series as well. That's also on Disney Plus. Jessica Gao, who's basically the writer, showrunner for She-Hulk and Avengers movies. She went on to say, I would be shocked if they didn't start putting her in the movies, especially the group team-ups. So She also addressed Daredevil in the series and if it's the same from the Netflix series. We were like, this is our version, and it's true for any character. Like every character that we use that exists in the MCU, it gets to be a little bit different on our show because you see them in very dramatic roles, like these big, high pressure, high stakes kind of situations. But on our show, because our show is more of a slice of life, they kind of take a break from that. They get to take a little bit of comedy vacation. Of course, all show they'll go back to save the world, saving the universe, very serious, intense story. But on our show, they get to just take a little break, and when the universe is not at stake, like what's going on with you, they get a chance to really explore like a different part of their character because not everyone can be saved, be at saving the world every minute of every day. So, like I said, it's been very already been talked about that it's going to be a different Daredevil in this series, and also Daredevil, it sounds like they're going to pull from different runs for the Daredevil series as well than what we've seen. So don't go expecting Netflix because there's other runs of Daredevil that have very different tones that aren't as dark as Netflix was.
Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to just be using the Born Again for name only, really, as well. I mean, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Born Again, obviously, back in the MCU. It's a little...
Did we just lose Andy? Oh, we lost Andy. Okay. Oh, he's back. I'll put him back on the stream. Hold on a second.
I'm back.
Yep. That was a quick hiccup.
I didn't really go anywhere. Everyone.
Yeah.
We're all back. That's okay. Where was I? Yeah. So a little bit like what they did with Spider-Man, what they called the first Spider-Man, Homecoming. It was like, he's coming home to Marvel Studios as such. And it's a little bit the same, Daredevil's being born again after the Netflix thing. And,
and I kind of like the play too, because it's like, it's Charlie Cox still, but it's like, it's like, it's your Daredevil that you wanted, but it's just different this time.
Jessica Gao also addressed Ghost Rider rumors. Don't expect to see Johnny Blaze in the series. She explained multiple times to the disbelieving interviewer, Donnie Blaze isn't Johnny, and it's just a magician who picked a stage name he thought was going to get a lot of attention. So that whole Blaze thing that we saw in that thing, it's Donnie Blaze, not Johnny Blaze, and it's not Ghost Rider attached.
Coincidence.
Yeah. Gal also talked about timeline. Reveals that She-Hulk is not set too far after events of Shang-Chi. And if you looked on Disney Plus, it's between Moon Knight and Miss Marvel. So it's not the latest series. Miss Marvel right now is the latest series on Disney Plus right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? With Bruce, that he still had his arm in the sling in the shot that we saw in the Shang-Chi post-credit scene, and we know he had his arm in the sling. And how long ago was the flashback? Did it say a few months ago?
I think it was a few months, I believe.
I can't remember now, but it was only on Thursday, and I've already it. I'm sure it just said a few months ago or a little while ago or something like that. It didn't give you a specific time. So yeah, it's obviously right on top of that.
Comment from the group chat here. After we saw Moon Knight, that showed us how they'd handle DD. Maybe a little darker for Punisher, but nothing like Netflix. Yep. And also, Disney Plus does have parental controls. They could go as dark as they want. So we'll see what happens there. But, have an open mind going in with Daredevil. Speaking of Daredevil, Gal also addressed the design. Usually how they do it is they kind of let us propose what we want to do rather than give us guidelines. When they first told us that Daredevil was a possibility, we just couldn't believe it. And as we were coming up with story we wanted him to do, the fact they kept not saying no was shocking to us. The one thing I didn't have control of was the suit. They knew exactly what they wanted the suit to look like. So
nice.
I have two more items before we get into the full She-Hulk talk. Gal also talked about the origin story change, because if for Watch She-Hulk, we did see that the origin story got tweaked a little. And she went on to say, well, there are several factors. First, the head honchos at Marvel specifically didn't want it to be the mob hit. And it just didn't feel like it fit with everything. But for me, having watched this Bruce Banner, this Hulk through all the years and all the different MCU movies, it just felt like what we saw him being really tortured by this. This was not a gift. He really saw it was a curse. It forced him not to have any relationships. He spent several years really, really tortured by it and not viewing it as a good thing. And it took him that long to get to a place where he can just accept it, learn to live with it, So to me, it didn't make sense for that guy to then willingly give this curse to somebody that he cares for. His cousin, who he really loves, it just didn't seem right and true to the character, and it didn't make sense to me, so I wanted to do that. From a practical angle, we just wanted to be able to start the origin story very quickly. I didn't want to have to spend half an hour setting something up. If you do a mob hit, it's like, well, then why? What happened? Let's just go to the meat of everything. And also, the nature of making it an accident takes a lot of pressure off the guilt that Bruce would feel having given this to Jennifer, because in the show, we really see how he struggles with it and how she, also like him, doesn't really view it as a gift at first. So I think that would really change the dynamic if he was completely responsible and that he made the choice for her. And just just to throw it out there, in the comics, basically she had a mob hit. He did a blood transfusion. She became She-Hulk. He was gone. Like, he was not mentoring her. He was not involved. He was just gone in the comics. So I think it fits with how Ruffalo's arc and Hulk's arc in the MCU.
Yeah, I do as well. I think it fitted really well because, I mean, I know we said earlier on in the show that they've kind of forgotten about Incredible Hulk apart from a couple of sort of little moments. But if you go back to that movie, obviously he was Bruce was very particular about not letting his blood get anywhere and not let anybody have his blood, not letting the accident that got it out in the first place, where we see Stanley drinking the bottle of drink. He was really, anxious and worried about that, wasn't he? So wiping the bottles clean. And so the fact that he wouldn't give his blood to anybody makes perfect sense to me. And the fact that it had to be some sort of accident, a complete accident, not like, oh, I didn't realize me giving you a blood transfusion would do this. So that makes sense to me. And yeah, I get the mob hit, but then they could use that to tie it into, to the Hulk. So it made sense. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, the whole scenario you just said real quick, Alex, reminded me of Boondock Saying. So every time they bled, they were spraying bleach on it so they couldn't be identified. But I don't know why that popped in my head when you talk about the whole blood cleanup thing. Go ahead, Alex.
I was just gonna say, it was weird though in the show, because in the show it's like they swerve off the road because of the ship, but then the ship just leaves after the chorus. Yeah, like it's just gone, like, and it doesn't come like for them, like, and She-Hulk runs off, like, and it doesn't try and take anybody, like, it's just like almost like the ship just, it's like, all right, I tried to kill you and you swerved off the road and you're dead now, like, bye.
Yeah, and Bruce brushes it off, doesn't he? But he says, oh, well, that's something I'll have to deal with later. They could have still brushed it off in the same way, and he could have said, I've dealt with them, I'll speak to them soon. Like, just a couple of words. But yeah, I must admit, that's my almost one complaint. I was like, well, where did they just go then? Like,
yeah,
but
he could have just said, yeah, that's a Grandmaster's warship that's after me because they want me back on Sakaar, or something like that, because I was his champion, something like that. And
I think if he'd have just said, yeah, I've dealt with them, I'll go back, I'll sort of follow up with it later. But the fact that he was kind of, oh yeah, I don't know what they're doing. Well, where have they gone?
But think about this though, we don't know between when he was in the ground to when Jennifer woke up in the woods and at the bar before he appeared again, what happened in that series. So he could have something could have happened between that time they crashed and the time we see him again knocking her out, to where that's why he said, hey, something I'll deal with later. He could have had that conversation. We still haven't seen it yet, and we could see in a future episode.
Yeah,
that's a good
point. Although having said that, I was thinking about this the other day with the trailers and everything that we saw. Have we seen everything of the Hulk? I can't remember seeing anything more in the trailers that was nothing that we didn't see in episode 1.
Well, I was going to say a large majority of episode 1 we had already seen, like,
in the trailers
and little short clips and stuff. So like there wasn't really much new in the first episode that we hadn't already seen.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't actually see the Hulk again in this.
I would say, since she left and went back to her lawyering in her home in this episode, that we'll probably see him again. And I'll probably have to do something with Sakaar and tying this into World War Hulk. If all the rumors are true, that this series is going to kick off World War Hulk, I won't be surprised if we see him at the tail end of the season again.
Maybe at the tail end, yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. So a couple things from the chat here. It's interesting that they made what would normally be the third of a mid-series episode into the first episode. So they set the origin up pretty quickly. That's a good comment there. It framed a dynamic between them, which is another good comment. This one, I'm not sure though. I think because he'll be appearing many times, which we just kind of touched on that, which we could see him not appear again till the end. Another comment here. Where did I go with that comment? These things are scrolling on me. Maybe they did speak to Bruce and he kept it secret. Like I said, like, we don't know what happened between when she disappeared and they were separated to when he showed up again to knock her out. And then also too, the ship pilot was embarrassed. Wouldn't you be if you waved at someone and caused them to have a car crash?
Hulk, this one.
Yeah. One last thing on the news. Gal also addressed why the So name changed. We always had the line in the show where Bruce says She-Hulk, attorney at law. It's got a nice ring to it. Gal said in a recent chat with Lifehacker, one of the publications out there, and one day we were watching the cut, and then it got to that scene. Kevin just said, "That's a great title for the show. That should be the title of the show," and that's it. So it really is called She-Hulk, and then Feige said, "Hey, you know what? She-Hulk, attorney at law sounds good. It probably fits from what we saw her, starting off, her being our lawyer in the office, and ending back in the court." So there you go.
I like that courtroom scene too, where she says She-Hulk, attorney at law, and then catches the thing and throws it back at her. And it really got me to thinking, she explodes into the courtroom right there at the end, and it's almost like she's trying to kill the jury in that scene because she's throwing something at the jury.
Yeah.
So it's almost like maybe there's some I'm interested to see what they do with that, and they explore that on, because She-Hulk literally slides in front of the jury and like catches that table or whatever. So
That was,
And we know Titania. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it was a very comic moment, wasn't it? The way she said that, it was it was catchphrase. It was, she done it, and it was exactly what you'd read in an old comic, where they sort of say their catchphrase when they're doing the thing that they're good at doing. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and I'll say it'd be interesting to see what all we see more from Titania, because we know she has ties to Doom and Doombots and all that kind of stuff. So I wonder where that leads to with her being in the series.
And he gave her powers in Secret Wars, didn't he?
Yep, I believe so.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So
Yeah, there was another one, wasn't there? There was her and another lady.
Volcana.
Oh no, yeah, that's
Yes.
Yeah. So
So starting off with the series, we got a new Marvel member in the logo. So Miss Marvel was added to Love and Thunder. Well, Mighty Thor is added to She-Hulk. So when you watch the whole intro from Marvel Studios, we now have Mighty Thor in there as well.
Yeah, that was well, it's good that they've included somebody in that show from that movie into the thing. It's good. I think that seems like a pattern, doesn't it? They're just going to continue to do that.
And did you guys notice there's a ton of Easter eggs in this first episode? Like a ton. Like I have like a whole, like, I think I have more notes in here from the show than I have for the news.
Yeah,
just when I watching this show. So there's all kinds of Easter eggs, and they said the Easter eggs will lead into other things, other projects too as well. So
yeah, there was lots, weren't there? And I think me and Alex were talking about this the other day about the Moon Knight, not comparing Moon Knight to this, that's just ridiculous. But, Moon Knight obviously being its own entity, and they said, it didn't really connect to anything, did it? And then obviously the contrast of Miss Marvel and then this, where it's like everything is about it, but then again, I suppose, as somebody else pointed out, Jennifer is the cousin of one of the sort of main Avengers, and she lived in New York City, so there is going to be lots more connections, I guess, just naturally speaking.
And I think with the fourth wall breaking character, it's one of those things too that you can literally have like so many Easter eggs.
I'm sorry, you just get some of the evil because you snapped at somebody and gave them the evil eye. That's why. Like, you better be quiet. I'm gonna pull this car over.
I didn't actually notice that.
Yeah, a chat here, or a comment from the chat here. Frogman Disney Plus series, which they said it looks like it's going to be a mashup of Leapfrog and Frogman in this series, from everything I read. But yeah, let's talk about the fourth wall break. So we got two this episode, I believe, and the first one was right off the bat, right at the very beginning. She's in the law office, and we get that fourth wall break that ties us right back into what happened with her. And then again, we get the second wall break towards the end at Bruce's bar, where she talks to the camera. Bruce is like, "What are you doing?" Like, kind of like, here's that look, like, who are you talking to? And she's like, kind of like plays it off. So I like the fourth wall breaking so far they've done. It's interesting to see how they do that as the show goes on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very 90s sitcom style, isn't it? You know, that they've got the main character talking to the audience and telling them, walking them through the show as the show's going on. And I think that also plays into the show length as well, that sort of 30 minutes. So yeah, it's nice. I think it fits in well with the style of the show. Actually, what was it Ally McBeal or something like that? Didn't they do that in that one? There was a little bit of that going on where they sort of narrated the show as it was going on, or there was one of those shows again in the 90s that did that quite often, and it was this felt a little bit like that.
I can't remember which one, but I was going into this series thinking Seinfeld because I kept hearing sitcom, and I was thinking Seinfeld, but then someone said that it's more like 30 Rock, and Jennifer Walters is more like Liz Lemon, and now I can't stop thinking about that right now. Have you ever seen 30 Rock?
The court fight scene, the music and everything gave me Starsky and Hutch vibes. I don't know why. Like, it just felt like one of those, just like move into action with some cool music. Like,
talking about movies and music, talking about music and talking about Easter eggs. I swear to God, the music that was playing when Hulk and Jennifer were having their fight was the same music that was, well, not the same, but was similar from when Hulk was fighting Thanos in Infinity War. I swear there was tones of that running through there, 100%.
I'll have to watch those side by side.
Go back and watch.
Yeah.
As soon as he started fighting, I was like, I've heard that sort of noise, that tone, those tones before, and I think maybe because he was fighting as well, maybe that's the Hulk's fighting, you know, because they've all got their, you know, like when Miss Marvel turns up in Endgame, you know, you hear her music, and when Thor fights, when Cap fights, you know, you hear their little bit of their music.
Yeah.
So I wonder whether that's sort of Hulk's kind of tone.
A couple of things here from the chat comments. The Flaming Hot Cheetos with chopsticks actually came from Oscar Isaac. There are pics floating around, and he's teasing them. Another comment here says, I watched Fleabag on Amazon Prime recently and wasn't aware the main character broke the fourth wall as much as she did. There's eventually a character who noticed her looking away at something. And then on your Ally McBeal comment, confirmed from the chat, I think you're right, Andy. They did do that in Ally McBeal. Yeah,
I'm sure that they did. I'm sure that's where I'm getting that idea from, where they sort of, like I say, the main character narrated the show to you. Maybe because they think you're stupid. I don't know. This is what's happening right now. Now you're all caught up.
So we kind of discussed the accident and, you know, Bruce with the inhibitor, his arm, that kind of stuff, not wanting to get the blood. The one thing I do want to address, because I saw a lot of things out there in social media and in comments of, you know, how she wasn't, you know, when she mentioned the catcalling thing, and people were saying that she wasn't that harassed when she was outside that bar. And I'm just like, but think about it. She just had an accident. She's woken up in the woods. She's, you know, she's obviously she's scared because she doesn't know where she's at. She doesn't know what's going on. She was, you know, distraught in the bathroom when all those ladies helped her. And, you know, yeah, you know, you could say those guys didn't mess with that much, but she wanted to be left alone. She had no idea what was going on. And people were kind of downplaying that. It's like, put yourself in that situation, right? You're all of a sudden,
some idiots on social. Oh, for God's sake!
Yeah,
just look at it to what it is. That's, you know, what they were supposed to be doing. Oh, stupid. Yeah, no, exactly, Joran. I totally agree with you. Like, could you not read what was supposed to be happening in that scene? Did they have to go? You know, did they have to go somewhere where they shouldn't really be going on? In most family-friendly, normal movies. Nah.
That scene where Bruce grabs her and knocks her out, though, right there, that reminded me of that moment in Age of Ultron where Tony just rocks the whole one time and knocks him out, you know, and it just like cuts to black for like a split second. That's what it kind of felt like to me.
Yeah, that was quite funny, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Go on, Joan.
No, go fine.
No, I was going to say, I think that that whole bit where she was running through the woods and not knowing who she was, and the way they kind of filmed that as well, that, you know, there was a little bit of first person stuff in there as well, and
yeah,
hands, you know, I quite like that.
Yeah, and I don't really think we've seen much of that from the Hulk in a long time, the first person stuff. Like, I think maybe we may have gotten some of that early on, but like, I feel like that's kind of like, it's a really good way of them being able to like put us in their perspective of like going through the change, you know? So,
Yeah, definitely. And feeling lost and a bit
yeah,
discombobulated.
yeah.
Yep, agreed.
Also, too, in that bar, there's a barcode
Yeah.
in there. So barcodes are
Really?
back. Yep, and that barcode goes to a comic that is for Savage She-Hulk #1.
Hmm.
So
That's
we also,
obviously a thing that they're going to do now.
yep,
You know,
Mhm.
very nice.
we also
in Miss Marvel.
they have QR codes with Marvel.
No, I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Did they?
Yeah,
I think there was a few. I think they were earlier on. I think there was at least 2 or 3, right?
yeah. I go back and look again now. I can,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they all did night, didn't they?
yeah, there were. Yeah, every episode of Moon Knight had one, I believe.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I must admit, my youngest son spotted it in She-Hulk, and he went, "Oh, look, there's a QR code." Oh, well done. Somebody said yes, they did.
Oh, yep, yeah, they did. Yeah, from the chat.
Oh, yeah.
What's also interesting too is that there was a Miss Marvel symbol on the wall, even though Miss Marvel series is after She-Hulk series in the timeline. There was also Spider-Man graffiti on the bathroom wall as well. So, or spider graffiti. So that's interesting.
People looking too closely at a bathroom wall graffiti.
Yeah, I'm always looking in the background now on my second watch when I'm taking notes. So,
So do I, but not necessarily
Yeah.
bathroom wall graffiti. You don't know what you find.
Get that zoom out and start zooming in on everything.
So you know, going on the the Easter eggs and the little callbacks. One that was really nice, really touching, was the helmet. The Iron
Yes.
helmet.
Iron Legion helmet. It looked like either from Ultron or from it had to be from Ultron, or it could also have been from it had to be from Ultron. Where else do we see Iron Legion in the MCU? I think it was just Ultron.
Yeah,
Mhm.
potentially.
Yeah.
There was,
Yeah.
there was a nice little moment there, nice little bit of music that played when that come up. But yeah, that was a nice little moment. I like that.
Oh, Iron Man 3 also in fight scene, they had the Iron Legion as well when he called them in.
Yeah.
So
Yes, it.
she had the Led Zeppelin shirt on. So was that a callback to Ragnarok music?
Mhm.
So she had that. Interesting too that they're end up in Mexico, and we finally got explanation of where Hulk was. Besides him turning to Small Hulk, we finally got an explanation of where else he did for that 5 years during the blip. And basically, he was in Mexico, a place that him and Tony's built, a lab. The bar there with their initials as well. So it was good to see them kind of close that loop to put more information out there, and hopefully they do that in other things too, where we have some gaps, we don't know what's going on. They use different series or projects to do that.
And I think I might have called this one. I might be wrong, but the thing about using her DNA to like help fix his arm, I think I said that on like last week's episode, and
Yeah, I think they did.
Fines, yeah.
yeah, and like they kind of like use that to kind of explain how he's got the normal arm again, like right away. I thought that was a really interesting way to do that.
Yep.
Did we yeah, so Hulk had a normal arm, but we didn't actually see him as Bruce after that, did we?
Mhm.
After the
No,
crash,
so-
we didn't see him as Bruce again.
No, so he was Bruce. So the reason why he was being Bruce was because that was how his arm was healing. I guess he couldn't heal as Smart Hulk, what happened to him in Endgame. So he was as Bruce to heal, and the inhibitor was keeping him Bruce. But yeah, once he was studying her blood, and because I think he said she had a lethal dose of gamma radiation, and she had a rare combination of genetic factors that he was able to synthesize, or that allows her to synthesize gamma radiation differently. Both of them share that. But she synthesized it differently, and he used that to be able to heal his arm as Small Hulk. So that's what it went. So,
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
also too, someone says from the chat, Feige always has awesome classic rock and movie and shows. And here's a comment, another Easter egg. But in She-Hulk, Bruce has that gladiator helmet we have in Ragnarok, and I believe that was from Terminator Champions as well, or what's that called? Was it Ragnarok or was it from what helmet was that?
What helmet was that?
Contest of Champions. There's a helmet in there as well, like a Hulk helmet, and it was either from Ragnarok or Contest of Champions. I thought was the helmet Easter
okay.
egg.
I didn't see the helmet.
Yeah.
Nice.
Um,
I like the
and-
fact about the lab thing though. I think
Yeah.
that was really cool. The 5 years in the lab, and what else did they develop in that 5 years? you know, what else were they doing? I know they were saying they were building a bar, and Tony done mostly drinking, and you know, Bruce done everything else. But they, you know, that I tell you what else I liked about the lab, the fact that all the tops were high.
Yes.
Yeah, did you notice that like when Maslany was just Jennifer, she was really small. Like the tops were about her head height, and then obviously like Hulk was just sort of playing with all the stuff, so it was all sort of sized up for Hulk.
Also the doorways too. All the doorways, everything, was all built Hulk size. So
I love the scene where Jennifer Walters takes the door and she rips it off and she comes out and she throws it right through all the tech. And he's like, "That's $1 million of equipment you just trashed." Because it's just like, it's so funny. It's like, you know, how are either of them going to fix that? Like they don't have the money to fix that. Like
that's the thing. Where's Bruce going to get his money from now? Obviously, Tony helped him set it all up and funded it all. But obviously, you know, Tony's gotten. So is he got somebody else on board where he can fund all his stuff?
yeah, because he can't just call it Pepper because now damage control's involved and everything. What happened with Spider-Man and all that other stuff too. So we can't just call up Pepper and be like, "Hey, I need more Stark Tech," because we know damage control is probably keeping a close eye on Stark Tech inventory. So, but the other comment too, the blood samples being destroyed, you know, can't use to create more Hulks, which I think that's going to be an interesting comment because, you know, is that going to play some kind of effect, whether it's her blood, his blood, Blonsky's blood, you know, is that going to be used further in the episode to create any more Hulks?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. They were very. I don't know whether it was just laying down more weight to the fact that he didn't want her to have this. That this was like he thought this was a curse for her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get what you're saying. Could it be used later on? But
I mean, wouldn't this whole situation with what we've seen in episode one, wouldn't Jennifer's blood be more valuable than Bruce's blood? I mean,
yes, because the difference is.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, there's no, like, evolution process. Like, she's pretty much, like, smart Hulk Jennifer, you know? So.
Yeah.
I think, well, yeah, because you know, she's conscious, doesn't have alter ego, and no other hand on the wheel like Bruce and Hulk have. But also, too, I think Blonsky's more similar to Jennifer than he is to Bruce, because it seems like Blonsky's still in control when he's Abomination, and Blonsky doesn't seem like he has a split personality. So I wonder if Banner created that split personality to deal with the trauma of Hulk. That was a way of coping with it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you think of how Blonsky and how Jennifer got their powers. It was through the Hulk's blood, and it wasn't necessarily being
Gamma
exposed to the Gamma. Yeah, like obviously Hulk had that huge trauma where though theirs was delivered, wasn't it? Like purposefully delivered to them. So it was maybe they could refine it a little bit better.
And remember, Blonsky also had 2 rounds of super soldier serum also. And he was saying in the second round, he's feeling like a monster. So he was already in some type of transformation before he got the synthesized Hulk bloods from Samuel Stern. So it's almost like he had like that could have prepared him to have that difference as well. Also with being Hulk's blood, not being just gamma radiation. So someone said they agree with me at that and support my thoughts about it. But here's this comment too as well. She's got something different in her genetic makeup that he doesn't. Healed him right up, and she stayed Jen when she hulked out, whereas Bruce and Hulk are 2 different personalities, except for Small Hulk because they became one. Maybe hers is better. Maybe Bruce has split personality disorder. Maybe both. Maybe some kind of trauma. Something else happened that we haven't really explored with Hulk yet. To why he has 2 different people and 2 hands on the wheel.
And they were very obvious of plugging that as well, weren't they?
Yep.
They plugged that over and over again. This kind of, you haven't got to fight with this other guy. There's another person in there, and they were very obvious with that. So that's why I'm thinking, like you say, this is going to set up that World War Hulk thing.
I love that visual representation they do too. Sorry, I cannot talk tonight. Where basically Bruce takes the section of the chapter out of the binder where he's like, "Guess we won't be needing this," then, and just throws it to the side, like.
Although the binder's a normal binder because he takes 2 little paper that he takes out of his fingers. Yeah,
15 years of data. Basically, he says that's his 15-year journey in that binder. But he also mentioned too how she can basically just control on a however she wants to between She-Hulk and Jennifer, where I like his callbacks. He said falling out of a jet, which was Avengers film. He turned out knocked out by a robot, which Alex talked about for Age of Ultron for the Hulkbuster, and then the Natasha lullaby as well that he referenced for him turning back between Hulk and Banner. So that's interesting. They also went into go ahead.
I was gonna say Tony also sprayed him with that gas too before he knocked him out.
Yeah,
So that also helped, you know.
yeah, true. But they also talk about it was dialectic behavior therapy to help balance himself and the other guy. You know, two opposing truths at the same time. Which people are like, "Oh, it's yoga," blah blah blah. Go read a damn comic. He also does yoga in the comics as well. Go back to Incredible Hulk, where Norman, what's his name, the other actor that played Hulk Banner. I can't think of his name right now.
Edward Norton.
Yeah, Edward Norton. Thank you. When Norton was playing him, he was doing it, and the guy was slapping him in the face in the beginning. Then at the end, and the part of the end of the movie, he was in a cabin doing it as well. So people keep saying, all this, blah, 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 they're doing yoga. And it's like, there's history there in the comics and in the MCU. Go watch and read some stuff and stop complaining.
Mm-hmm.
Norton was the one with the watch that would beat.
Yep,
or
the heart rate monitor.
Yeah,
Yep.
with the heart rate monitor.
Yeah, that was quite cool. I like that, actually.
Mhm.
You know, he's didn't get too excited.
Yeah. And then correct me if I'm wrong. I thought we saw another mask from Sakaar there as well, either in the bar or in the house where they were celebrating in the streets for the champion. I thought we saw that mask in that also, but I have to go back and look.
Yeah, I missed this. I missed the helmet and the mask. If there's a mask in there.
Mm-hmm.
Go on,
ahead.
Karen. No, go on. What was you going to say, Hugo?
No, the alcohol thing was pretty funny too. That they can metabolize alcohol in a completely fast rate, similar to Cap. How Cap can do it, you know, with his super soldier. All buzz, no barf, drink all they want. I like that.
But Jennifer wakes up and she has a monster hangover.
Yeah.
And Bruce is still Hulk, and he's like, "Well, let's get to going," you know.
Yeah.
Like,
We were saying, why don't she just go back as Jennifer and metabolize it quicker and
Yeah.
get the hangover quicker? Go back as She-Hulk. So, yeah.
And other things too. She's expert at controlling her anger because she does it in infinite more than Bruce. You know, this is a new Hulk territory, he said, where her life experience, her in court, you know, her being a female, all that kind of stuff, she can relate to all that. So it's interesting that they're going to this new territory and shifting away from everything that we've seen with Hulk to what we're seeing with She-Hulk. And I think that's going to probably set possibly a new precedent in the MCU, especially if they reintroduce the leader or any other Hulk characters. I wonder once we see Scar if he'll have some differences also, because again, just like Jennifer and Abomination, he won't be exposed to gamma. He'll be hatched from an egg if they do it the same way as the comics. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that with Scar also.
Yeah, I like that. I like the fact that not every Hulk is the same, or every Hulk character is the same.
And then another cool thing too is that she picked up the Thunderclap pretty quickly. But then she also changed it to be like the Stark weapons from Incredible Hulk, will have the sonic things to kind of distort him also. So she learned pretty quickly, and everyone's like, well, she learned how to fight pretty quickly, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we don't know any more backstory on her. Was she taking self-defense classes? You know, also, was she doing other things? Because, you know, she probably has some people out there that don't like her because of her lawyering and her, you know, some of her cases. So remember, she had a mob hit in the comics, so maybe she already had some kind of skills already to make her become a quick, you know, study of as a fighter as She-Hulk.
and I love that scene because Hulk does his little thunderclap and thunderclaps her, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't want to do that." And I'm like, "Man, I really wish he did. I'm so happy he did." And he goes, "I'm just kidding. I really did want to do that," or whatever. I was like, "Oh, thank you." Like, you know,
See, so thinking back on her fighting, you know, was she a good fighter or was she just a strong person? We was talking about this the other day, me and my family, and we were saying if you look at the fight he had with Thanos, actually, it's all rage and all kind of just rah, you know, where Thanos obviously is a soldier. He's an absolute weapon, you know, he's a weapon. He's been fighting all of his life. So, you know, he schooled him in that fight quite easily just with his technique, didn't he? And I guess in a way, it's the same as if you looked at, say, Steve and Tony, although we do see Tony doing a lot more training as he, you know, once he becomes Iron Man, you know, we see him doing the boxing training in Iron Man 2. So obviously he starts learning how to fight. But at the beginning, he doesn't know how to fight. He's just a he's just a guy in a suit, you know. But he learns how to fight over time. So, you know, he's Jennifer just so. But where at the beginning of Tony's arc, obviously, he was using the suit as his way of fighting, and then he learned how to fight, and then he became good at fighting as he went on.
He used both though, because remember in Civil War he did use machine learning to help counter Cap. So he kind of used a combination of both.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But I think the point being is that Jennifer's just using her Hulk rage. Yeah, at this point, and she's got to learn how to fight. You know.
Yeah, I can see that too as well. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's all I was thinking really there along the lines of that. But I did like her clap. The clap was really good. I like the first one. The first one was great. That really lame one. It was just a clap. Yeah, that was cool.
Comment here from the chat. Would love to see Hulk, Thor, Steve have an old-fashioned drink-off day. That'd be interesting because we already kind of seen Steve and Thor have it in Age of Ultron in the beginning, where the Stan Lee cameo from that one. Yeah, interesting to all see it. Yeah, get together. Yeah,
Excelsior. Yeah.
And then that's about it. We do get a post-credit scene. Well, she does go back, so we flash back to present day, back to her lawyer, her trial, where she's preparing for the very beginning. Also, too, if you notice, one more note I have from Easter egg is that she has, what is it, G, L, T, and H, which is her law firm she eventually worked for in the comics, too, as well, in her office. But we go back to the courtroom. We see her, do her first public transformation as She-Hulk. Her one friend knows, not everyone else knows yet. That's where we get introduced to Titania and to take her out. So I'm interested to see what they do with Titania in this series and how Titania got powers as well. But we do get the first post-credit scene, which I believe they said there's going to be one in each episode. And so it's basically going back to her crying over, because the whole thing starts off with her talking about Steve Rogers, her watching the History Channel, and then goes back to her crying about, whether Steve had some relations on the USO tour or not, which Hulk said he does. And there's been controversy is that Peter Quill's mother, which James Gunn did take a Twitter saying, no, it's not his mother. It could be his grandmother, but he also said, well, his grandmother would be at this age, so I doubt it at that time frame. Yes, it's the same actress as Star-Lord's mother. They reused her in the MCU, but not really sure if that connection between Steve Rogers and his fun on the USO tour relates to anything to Peter Quill later on in the MCU.
Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah. One question here. This is Robert Bush from the group, but he's on YouTube today. Yeah. But he's through YouTube today. So, hey guys, so you think Steve is now dead, or is Bruce just hiding the old man information from her? So I don't know. Could Steve, be with Sword up in space? Could he be on the moon? Or do we think he's dead? We saw old man Steve in the end of Endgame, but young Steve could be out there still. The whole travel timeline things. What do you guys think?
He's not dead.
Yeah, I don't think he's dead either.
No way. I think if he dies, and I don't mind if he dies, but if he dies, they've got to have a funeral for him, surely.
Because they're not going to do that off screen.
No.
And they're not going to just have Steve Rogers die and everybody be like, oh, we don't know who that is. Everybody knows who Steve Rogers is.
Yeah. Nobody's not going to be at his funeral.
Yeah. So from the group, no one says nope, not dead. Go ahead, Andy.
And I've been banging on about this for ages, and I don't think they should bring Steve back yet. I don't think it's necessary. But I do think they should bring him back and I think they will bring him back. Looking at Disney's record, I guess, if you call it that, especially with Star Wars and bringing back Han and Luke and Leia and characters like that. Just looking at it from a marketing opportunity, they can bring out a whole new line of Steve Rogers toys in 5-6 years time that new kids will buy Steve Rogers toys. So I think that they'll probably I think they've already teased, and talking about the Hulk, I think they've already teased the way that they're going to bring it back. They're going to push time through Steve as Hulk pushed time through Scott.
So speaking of that, Robert goes, they keep teasing us, which I agree. They start teasing us in Winter Soldier. Or not Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier. But let me ask you this then. If he's not dead, do you think if they show him again, will he be old? Is he old man Steve, or is he gonna be young man Steve, or is it something where he's about to push time through him and to make him young Steve for Secret Wars?
Yeah, I think Secret Wars is the right thing. I don't know whether because of when it's coming out, if it's too early for it. I don't know. You know what I mean? I think it's the right movie. It's just
I would love to see him as an old man first, and I would love to see him pop up in something like just random, like Secret Invasion, and him just like fighting Skrulls as an old man on the street, like trying to help people. I've said this before, and like them be like, sir, how can you do this? And him be like, oh, well, I just don't like bullies, and turn around and it's Steve Rogers, like, the whole time that was doing it. And everybody be like, whoa. But yeah, I mean, definitely bring him back as an old man, and then use the thing to make him young again, like they did in game.
yeah.
And speaking of Secret Invasion, we could see a Skrull impersonating him in Secret Invasion as well, whether it's young man or whether it's regular Steve Rogers or old man Steve Rogers. Another place they could place him could be Loki season 2. The TVA could be on him after what he did after the end of Endgame also. So there is ways they could bring him in. I agree with Andy. I think it's too soon. I think Secret Wars could be the, possibly the soonest. I do like Secret Invasion as an option. But I think maybe push that out. Maybe bring him back for X-Men versus the Avengers type thing post Phase 7.
There's a comment there that says, did Chris Evans not say he's not going to be in future MC movies? No, what he actually said was he's not playing Captain America in future MC movies. So that's very specific.
Yep.
Because Sam Wilson is Captain America.
Yep, he did that when he addressed that comments about Captain America. He's not coming back, but he did not say Steve Rogers. He only said Captain America.
It's very specific, isn't it? And it's just like, why would you be so specific? Why would you just say, no, I'm not coming back. I'm not doing any more of that. He keeps saying, no, I'm not Captain America. I'm not Captain America. I'm not going to be Captain America. Like, he's very specific about saying that, which, is too specific in my eyes.
Yep.
But hey, what do I know? Are we all but done there, guys?
Yep, we're all done. Before we close out, please, wherever you listen to the podcast, like, subscribe, give us reviews, that kind of stuff. We do stream to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all 3 Facebook groups and the Facebook page. So wherever you consume that as well, please let us know. And then we are no longer going to be putting these on Instagram because of the 1 hour limit, and we're not sticking with 1 hour anymore, obviously. We try to, but there's days we go over. So YouTube and TikTok will just be commercials going forward.
Nice. Yeah. Like Jarian said, guys, get on there and like and share and review and rate and all of those other things that you can do on any platform that you watch it on. Get on
or listen.
Or listen, and get on there and leave some reviews as well. Hit some stars up. We want some feedback. Give it to us. Let's see it, hear it. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Take care. We'll see you next week. Episode 2, She-Hulk.
Have a good one.
Have a good one, guys.
Why don't you tell him about the time we faced doom?
All right. Well, as I remember,